welcome back to our Citizens Crime Watch podcast. Thank you all for joining us today. We are very privileged today to have a very special guest, Ivonne Perez-Suarez from the Florida Department of Agriculture, from our local office here in South Florida. We're lucky to have that office here near us.
Yes.
We don't have to be traveling around the state because, as we'll see, you cover a big area.
Yes.
But we're very privileged to have you here in Miami-Dade County, and we're very lucky to have you here today. Thank you very much for being here, Ivonne.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you for the invitation. And it's such a wonderful opportunity for our department to really inform the public of what it is that we are all about. Because so many people are just thinking, they just take care of agriculture.
They take care of the oranges in the state of Florida.
Exactly.
That's it, right?
We're more than lettuce and tomato, right?
Exactly.
So thank you very much.
No, it's my pleasure, and it's our pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I've been working with Ivonne for several years through different projects and different aspects of the department. In my prior life in law enforcement, and now in this new life here in Crime Watch. Again, thank you for being here. So I know you. I know what you do and stuff like that. But let's tell our viewers and our listeners today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So how long have you been with? Tell us about you, and then how long you've been with the Florida Department of Agriculture.
So I was raised here in Miami, and I have been involved with in some form or other with the government for the last a little over 33 years. I started out working with a U.S. state senator, and then I went in the early 90s, worked for the city of Miami. I worked for 3 different mayors in the mayor's office.
Wow.
Then I worked as a corporate public relations manager for the Biltmore Hotel, our very own historic hotel here in South Florida.
Very nice place.
And I was there for almost 10 years. And then I went back to government. And I worked at Miami-Dade County government doing communications for a county commissioner. And in 2012, I was appointed by then Florida Commissioner of Agriculture, Adam Putnam, to this position that his office created with the help of the then Deputy Commissioner, Jay Levenstein. So back then, they were seeking somebody that would really do outreach and provide information and to let the public know, what we were all about. And so that's how I came on board 11 and a half years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a blink of an eye, right?
Blink of an eye. And it's been wonderful because I cover so much.
It's amazing. It's amazing how time flies. I tell them here in the office, I can't believe I've been retired for a year from law enforcement. I couldn't believe I did 30 years and then I've been here for a year. So it's a blink of an eye. But
yes.
Thank you again for being here. It sounds like you've had an amazing career.
Wonderful.
Lots of exposure. I mean, you got some really ins and outs of Miami, working Miami government and different aspects and working like, Biltmore, that's an amazing place to be working.
That is our local White House.
Yes. I love going there. They got a great brunch.
Yes,
so
they do.
Still do.
Yes,
so,
they do.
But yes, you're well-rounded. You got a good, you're a true Miamian, as they would say.
Yes, I've been here since I was 7. So it's been most of my life.
We won't date ourselves.
No,
I usually do it once or twice a year. I say something, I go, there I go, I'm dating myself, and everybody figures out how old I am. But great, awesome. So, getting into what the Florida Department of Agriculture, tell us a little bit about what you guys do, what the department does, and then maybe what your office does. We'll get into what your role is there, because as we said, people think Florida Department of Agriculture, those are the people who take care of the oranges and the lettuce and the potatoes,
No.
But there's a lot more to it. I was surprised in my years when I've learned how much you guys really do and how much you're involved in different aspects of the government. So.
Exactly. People don't realize it, but once you get up in the morning as a Floridian, even as a visitor, because we have to also take that into consideration, we touch your lives. So with what you have for lunch, if you have fruits, if you have vegetables, If you go and get some gasoline, we inspect the pumps, make sure that you're not getting watered down gasoline, that the pumps are working correctly, that there's no scam
Very
related to that. Exactly. You take your kids to school. Well, we have food, nutrition, and wellness. And that division oversees the federal food, nutrition, and wellness program in the schools. So all the lunches at the schools and the after-school cares, that's our department that's overseeing that. You get your car fixed. Well, we do motor vehicle repair shops. You want to travel and want to plan your vacation, we do the travel agencies. You have jewelry or something that you want to take to the pawn shop, we cover the pawn shops.
You guys are like a big regulatory agency. I mean,
Yes.
for the most part,
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of involvement, like
Yes.
you said.
Yes,
You
yes, a lot. You come January, what is it that most people do in January? Well, you want to sign up for the gym. Well, people don't know that health studios, which is your gyms, your Pilates, your yogas, all that, that's something that we regulate, the
Wow.
Department of Agriculture. So if you want
I learned something new today. Look at that.
So if you want to
Take
open
care of
up
my
a gym or
Don't close down my gym. I love my Orange Theory. I got to give them my props here. I love my Orange Theory. So don't close them down.
No.
But
All good.
no, they're a great place.
Oh, good. So, if you want to open up one of these businesses in the state of Florida, you have to do that through our Department of Agriculture before you are licensed or receive any other paperwork from your city or the county where you're going to be opening up that business. So we do a lot in the state of Florida. We cover a lot, and then of course we cover aquaculture, which is a big business. People do not know about that. I invite everyone to visit the local aqua farms.
Like
down
the fish
south,
farms and stuff like
fish
that?
farms.
Wow.
Down south, we do that. We do the plant industry. We do the animal industry. Did you know that if you have an animal in order evacuation, we're in the middle of hurricanes, do you know that you need certain, especially if you're in the cattle and all those things, horses, anything that you may have, and you want to transport it to another state, you need to have paperwork from us as well.
That's amazing. And it's funny because when our last podcast, we were talking about emergency management and hurricane preparedness.
Yep.
That was a big thing that I brought up because I'm an animal lover. And I always tell our listeners, you got to be prepared for your animals as well. You can't just pick your bag up and grab your kids and go.
No.
You got animals. But here, now you're talking about these farmers, and we do have a lot of farmlands, especially down here in South Dade.
Exactly.
They got to worry about the animals and stuff like that.
Exactly. So we do food safety. Let's say next time you go to the supermarket, and if you're going to buy some at the deli, some ham or cheese, and you ask for like a pound of or whatever, check the weight because it's going to have our logo. We check on that. So we have the food safety inspectors, and that's what they do. The supermarkets, your 7-Elevens, kind of, that kind of thing. They also do other food processing companies. So we have the Forest Service in the state of Florida. That's us. So those forest fires, that's us. We take care of that as well. We have marketing. So next time you go to the grocery store, make sure you check our Fresh from Florida brands.
I've seen that. I've seen the Fresh from Florida. Yes.
That's us.
That I did know.
We got to support Florida ag. So we do the licensing department.
Yeah, I know that you're big in that, and that always surprised me. You guys do a lot of when it comes to license, especially like with the concealed weapons.
We do concealed weapons, and we have an office here in Doral. And we also do, if you want to be a security officer.
Security and private investigators. You
have to be with us, licensed with us. And again, that's our Doral office. So in our Doral office, we have our licensing. And then where I am at, we have food, nutrition, and wellness. We have agricultural law enforcement. And I'll get to that in a minute. And we have food safety, and then myself. So ag law is another division, and those are agricultural law enforcement. And it's not, they don't only focus on who's stealing, the fruits and vegetables, which that's pretty impressive too. But they also do the investigative, an investigative unit. So any frauds going on, companies or anything that we see, they do that kind of thing. As in fruit and vegetables, we do agricultural water policy as well, and that's an office within our department. So, and environmental as well. So
you're not kidding when you say you touch every aspect
yes.
of our lives. It's amazing. It is how much.
And
I've learned a few things here today of what.
And everything that we do, we do for Floridians and for our visitors.
Right.
The number one industry in the state of Florida is tourism. The number two is agriculture. So sometimes we don't really think about it because we feel like we live so much in the city. But if you go down south, you see the importance of it, yes. Right? And I'm very happy to say that all of this is led. We're all under the leadership of our wonderful Commissioner of Agriculture, Wilton Simpson, and we're just very happy to have him on board too.
And I can tell you, I know that they are very important. Our farmers down there. Mm-hmm. They are very vocal. They're very yes. passionate yes. about what they do. Mm-hmm. I've been to several meetings down there with our agricultural patrol, and mm-hmm. I mean, they are very involved, and they face some serious security issues sometimes. And people don't think about it, but they're stealing a few oranges. But if you get a bunch of people stealing here, stealing there, stealing mangoes or something like that, that's how they support. That's their livelihood.
If you have an industry that you may not even be thinking about, avocados, that's $1 million, millions and millions of dollars. So that's the department in general. That's right. Not even touching the Division of Consumer Services,
which is where you're at.
Yes.
There we go. So that gets me into my next question with you. So we could probably do a show for like 7 hours just talking about all the things that Department of Agriculture takes care of. But one of the reasons I wanted you here is because it's one of the aspects that we've worked together a lot with, and you work with our organization a lot with, and it's because you're heavily involved in the consumer services part of it. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I serve, like I said, for the last 11 and a half years since former Commissioner Putnam hired me as the Consumer Outreach Coordinator. So I cover about 6 counties. I cover all of South Florida. And what I do is outreach. So I do presentations on consumer fraud, consumer protection. I provide tips. I give out information, things that, everyone needs to look out for. And so this is what I do. I'm based out of Doral, the Doral office, but I travel all the time. So, if you have an HOA, if you have a PTA, if you have a ladies group, or, you're a part of the Kiwanis or a Chamber of Commerce, any organization or group that you are interested in having me make our presentations are free. I do them in English, in Spanish, and in Spanglish, because I have been asked to do things in Spanglish as well.
Right. It's a challenge. Really, I'm there. I throw out my best Spanglish, but I actually had to do one last night. I did a meeting last night, and it was 100% in Spanish. Well, I want to say the meeting was 100% Spanish. My presentation was like 96% Spanish. Yeah. Because I had to throw a couple words in there. Yeah.
So those are the kinds of the things we also have a newsletter in Spanish and in English. So it's a lot. And just to give you some numbers, because people, tend to think, oh, Tallahassee, they see them so far, right? Last year, I'm going to give you some numbers. Last year, our department processed 37,413 complaints.
Wow.
We were able to return to Floridians $5,645,142 to Floridians. We received 200,000 calls, emails, 5,261 emails, and chat rooms, which we also have available, 31,509.
Wow.
So that's a lot. That's a lot.
And that's a lot when you start looking. I know I do a lot of identity theft type presentations as well and stuff. And when I start looking at the numbers, I always do my research and go to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and look at where we are in South Florida. And for so many years, Florida and South Florida has
Yes.
been like up
Yes.
there. We've,
Yes.
I know for so many years that I taught, it was Miami, Fort Lauderdale was like one or two. We would go back and forth between one or two
Yeah.
in the entire nation when it came to fraud and identity theft and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I always say that there are three things that impact or are maybe reasons why this happens. Florida has a very large transient population.
Mm-hmm.
Florida has a large senior population, and that's a very vulnerable sector of our society. And by seniors, I mean, you're 55 and over. Like, like
I'm right there. I'm on the bubble.
Well, so, and we also have a large, in Central Florida and South Florida in particular, we have a large population of people that are coming in from different countries. Sometimes there is a language barrier.
Yes.
There's a lack of knowledge of how the law works. Or, for example, the IRS is not going to call you. We all know that. We all understand that. But if you're coming from somewhere else, you may not know that. So, that's also a vulnerable population.
The fear of the unknown.
There's fear and, there's fear and there's shame is very tied in, right? So people don't want to either, they don't know that we do this because people may not know that in the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, we serve as the clearinghouse for everything that's scams and frauds.
Right.
Okay. So, because they're not going to, may not necessarily associate agriculture with scams and fraud. So this is why outreach is so important. So we have that, that component. And we really strive to get out the information. We want to make sure that residents feel safe, that there's no shame. Scams and frauds can happen to everyone.
Anybody can be a victim.
I have presentations geared to child ID theft. Parents or caregivers are not giving any thought to the fact that your child, newborn to 18, their IDs can be compromised.
Yep.
And that we do have children that have homes, bank accounts, cars, you name it, under their name because of this. And parents don't even know about this.
And I think a big problem of that is we're talking like that generational that we're dealing with, that generational gap, because I remember when I was born, I didn't get my Social Security number until I got my first job.
Exactly.
And I was, 14, 15 years old is when I remember getting my social. So you didn't have to worry about that back then. So my parents and my generation still thought about, okay, we're not doing it. But now, when your child's born, the first thing they bring you is that here's your birth certificate application and here's your Social Security number application, because you got to get both.
Exactly.
And that's, it's a tremendous concern nowadays. And that's a lack of awareness or a lack of education that's not out there by say the federal government or something like that, and that's where we need to step in as educators and consumer advocates.
And that is what we do. So I cover South Florida. My colleague, she's based in Orlando. She covers Central Florida, and so Tallahassee covers North Florida. And and again, this is what this is our goal, and this is what we set out to do.
Awesome. So those are some of the services we were talking about that the Florida Department of Agriculture does, these consumer services. I know you guys work with also like price gouging. That's something that's very important.
So yes. So now
with storm season here.
Exactly. And this brings me to the next point. These presentations that I do. So we are all affected by fraud and scams. There's some that are just general. If you go to the pump, it's everybody. It's not a certain sector of the population. Anybody can be a victim of a fraud or a scam at the gas pump, or a robocall. That's anyone. However, I do presentations also speaking about the general scams and what affects us as the public, but I also do presentations of what affects seniors, what affects the Black community, which report I'm eagerly awaiting a report that's going to come out next month on that. The child ID theft that I just spoke about, the immigrant population, because there are certain things that they have that they're being targeted for. I'm working on our Indian American population, and that has just that has been studied recently, and they're being affected as well with certain things. And I'm also doing presentations on frauds and scams, and being the population being affected is those with disabilities.
And each of those groups are targeted differently. It's not like a one.
There's a general.
There's a general, but there's specifics that happen within those groups, and they need to be aware.
Correct. And also businesses. I'm going to also be doing a presentation to the Miami-Dade Chamber, which is our local Black Chamber of Commerce. So I can, at the request of who's ever inviting me, I can do 1, 2, or just they tell me, for example, I'll be doing one in Broward that they want seniors and families in general.
Okay.
So that's a special, targeted for that. So we have collateral materials, and again, we have our website and we have our newsletter in Spanish. So we have, and our phone numbers also for Spanish speakers. So I don't want people to feel like, we're not going to be taking care of them, or maybe there's a language barrier or something like that. And it's not like that.
Very good. Awesome. So doing all these presentations and delving into all this and all this research, because I know what goes into it. Like when I put together my presentation, you have to have the background. I mean, you have the knowledge and the prevention part of it, but you got to stay up with what's going on and stuff like that. So I always like to, when I have my guests, I kind of put them on the spot in the sense of that maybe like the top 5. You give me 10, great, but like the top 5. Tell me like the top 5 things that we need to maybe that you see that your office is seeing as far as scams or frauds or issues and stuff like that. So it would be like the top 5 tips that we could give to our viewers about what to look out for that's like kind of going on in the mix right now.
Right. Let me just give you, before I do that, just to give an idea, because we're going to go into that, the top 5 complaints that the department received last year.
Okay.
The number 1 is unsolicited communications, because we're all.
You know what I love now? I love now that the recent update of the phone that now you get the actually it says scam call, because now I don't even answer it. I'm like, all right, now let it go to voicemail.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
So landlord tenant, which we provide information as to the laws.
Right.
Petroleum, and we just had a case in Tampa where the petroleum was watered down, so it affected several gas stations. And the motor vehicle repair shops, you go in for $200 and it's.
Let me tell you what I found.
And moving and storage, which we also we oversee the moving companies in the state of Florida. Interstate moving, not so if you're moving from Florida to Georgia, no. But if you're moving from Miami to Jacksonville, yes. So we do that.
So you guys deal with that's actually something that you see a lot now. They talk about where like these companies that kind of hold your stuff hostage. They say, we'll move you for $5,000, and then they pick up your stuff and they say, no, you got to give us another $5 to get your stuff.
And people are not, you always, especially, the economy, everyone's trying to cut, right? So, well, I can't spend so much money. If somebody tells me $500 for something that would cost me $10,000, then I'll go for the $500, not knowing that, it's important to do your research, because the $500 might turn into something a lot worse. It
was $500 just to pull the truck up, and now you owe me $5,000 to get your stuff out.
For example, if you're moving and you've got children, they cannot withhold anything that is related to children.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things, and we have all the information available on our website, and I'll give you that in a minute. But let me give you first the tips. Become educated. The more you know.
Awareness. I tell you guys, I don't know how many times, every podcast, I got to throw it in here. Every podcast, awareness that's my favorite word in crime prevention. If you're aware, you minimize your vulnerabilities.
Exactly. We are all subject to this. All of us. There's, no one is free from frauds and scams, right? So Visit our website. Find out as much as information as you can. Do your research. If you are going to, for example, we're coming up with coming up soon is Giving Tuesday, where people give to the charities.
Yes.
And that's a big thing here in Miami-Dade County. A lot of money is raised. When you go to, if you're interested in a charity or anything else like that, check with us, because in the state of Florida, we also cover the not-for-profit organizations. They need to be registered with us. So check them out. Check the businesses. Tell references. Make sure that you get, 2 or 3 quotes if you're going to do something, right? Reduce your junk mail. You know that there's a way to you can reduce your junk mail. It's a junk mail alert, and it is 1-888-567-8688.
Awesome. We'll put that number in our bio description there and get that information to them.
The mail that comes in, you can also sign up with the United States Postal Office to check. They'll text you your mail every day. Picture of your mail.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of mail theft. So check your credit report.
That's very important.
Once a year, check your credit agencies. If you're not foreseeing that you're going to purchase anything large or important, put a credit freeze or a credit, so they can track your credit. Credit cards, if you have a debit card and it's the only thing you have, it's okay. If you don't, try to minimize or not use your debit card. Please remember that's your money, credit.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I mean, debit cards, and folks got to understand. I always say, I know there's people out there that say, I live credit free. I don't want any credit cards or anything like that. But it's always good to have at least one that you can use if you have to do transactions, if you have to do transactions online or anything like that. Because the last thing you want to do is put that credit card number online.
Exactly.
Because people got to understand that when you use that debit card, that's coming right out of your account. So now you got to fight to get that money back.
Exactly.
Opposed to a credit card that you just file a fraud report and you don't have to pay it.
Exactly.
But if you're using your debit, it's coming right out.
Exactly. So, there's that, and so these are the don't wire any money. Please don't wire any money. Anybody that asks you, make sure that it's something that you know. If you know the person, you've already done business with them, and it's something but otherwise, don't wire money. Okay, and so those are the important things. And contact us if you think that there's a scam or a fraud going on. And it doesn't matter, resident or visitor. Okay, or you want to report a complaint, you can do it online with us. You can give us a call. You can do chat rooms. We have, again, a number in English, a number in Spanish. It's 1-800-HELP-FLA, and in Spanish is 1-800-FL-AYUDA.
Okay.
And you can go on to our link as well as floridaconsumerhelp.com. If you want to reach me for presentations, I don't do cases, but I do presentations. My number is 850-491-5461. So you can reach me at that number.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a lot of great information. So, I mean, I'm sure we could sit here and go over tons and tons of tips, but I think the best way is for them to reach out to you and schedule these presentations to have you come out, and then you can bring a wealth of knowledge to them. So thank you for that information for them to give. And we're going to have those links, and we'll put some links in our bio and the numbers that she mentioned to reach out to her. I always like to share too, FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. They're a great source, a great partner for agencies like you and agencies like us.
And we have established a relationship with the FTC. We're in constant communication with them. So, and with the person, for example, that oversees the department that covers the state of Florida. So, hopefully we'll be doing a lot more with them. We're collaborating between agencies, and we're just very happy about that.
They're a great source of information and a great source. A lot of people don't know that if you're a victim of a fraud, aside from calling the police or maybe calling the department, is you should also contact the Federal Trade Commission, file reports with them as well. So it's a great resource or a great agency to contact as well, and we'll put that in our that link in there as well to give you that information.
And even if you don't, let's say you have a fraud case, or you're just not sure where to go to, or maybe just want information on something, just as background information, contact us. Okay, so it's not only to file a complaint, but also to educate. So if you're going to be renting or hiring a moving company, but are not sure about the law, you want to reach out to us, but visit our website because we have that information there as well. Sign up for our newsletter. It's monthly, and it has wonderful information.
Is that it's an e-newsletter?
It's an e-newsletter. Awesome. It's no charge. Also, sign up for our do not call list. It'll take you about 5 minutes, maybe the most. Okay. And again, it's free of charge, and just another layer to avoid unsolicited phone calls. So,
okay. And what's the main website that it would be?
FloridaConsumerHelp.com.
Okay, awesome. So again, that's another one we'll throw on there, and the amount of information that they have on these sites are great. They also have, as we talked about, we were talking about Social Security numbers. That's a great site to go to register. They teach you how to go ahead and freeze your Social Security numbers for your kids.
So we have that information, but if you're interested, I can provide that information, those numbers for you, and you can make them available, or we can talk about that at another time or whatever you'd like.
So not only do you have us, Citizens Crime Watch, but now we have a whole new partner that we've been working with for years here. That is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to community service and community education, consumer education, and my favorite, my passion, crime prevention. And that's why I think why Ivonne and I, we've gotten together so many years and work well, because she's just as passionate about educating the public and the community. I always say, even as a police officer, I would rather sit there and talk to you for 2 hours and teach you how not to be a victim, and so you can protect yourself, than have to be that officer that comes out and takes a report because you were victimized or robbed or scammed or anything like that. So it's always good to know, have the information, and be aware, folks. Awareness. My favorite word. I got to stomp my foot here. So I always do that, and they always laugh at me. But I say, you always remember the stomping foot. What did that guy say when he stomped his foot? Oh, awareness. And you got to know what's going on. Yeah.
And please subscribe to this channel. They're doing an amazing job. There's so much information.
Thank you.
Hit that like button.
That's it. I like her. See, you're hired. I'm a co-host. So give us a like, give us a follow.
Yeah, because this is really important information that Citizens Crime Watch of Miami-Dade County is putting out, and thanks to social media, we can do this. Thanks to our Florida Commissioner of Agriculture, who makes our job easier, and
we thank him for allowing you to be here today. Great information today. I mean, a lot, and I'm sure that in the future, I'd love to have you back.
Of course.
Maybe we can do a little follow-up update.
Yes.
Because, trends always change, and we want to keep up with what's going on. So I thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's always our pleasure, and we look forward to having you back again. Until our next episode, remember, crime prevention starts with you.